It is now time to turn to the maritime domain, an arena increasingly central to India's strategic calculus. And to guide us through this lens, we are deeply honored to welcome a naval leader of exceptional merit and insight, Vice Admiral Krishna Swaminatham, Ati Vishishta Seva Medal, Vice Chief of the Naval Staff, brings to this platform his vast experience in maritime operations, capability building, and strategic planning. With a distinguished service record spanning decades, he has played an important role in steering the Indian Navy's operational readiness and technological advancement. Please join me in welcoming Vice Admiral Swaminathan for his special address.
Okay. Dr. Rajan Arya, CEO of Pentagon Press, distinguished speakers, panelists, and moderators of various sessions, officers from the three services, members of the print, digital, and social media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and greetings to all of you. I begin by thanking Mr. Rajan Arya for inviting me to speak on this very, very important seminar, and the topic that was given to me was naval transformation. I'm just assuming in broad sense it means that I've got to talk to you generically about the Navy and the Navy's attitude and approach towards transformation. And of course this I talked before we set the stage for the next session, which is on procurement and acquisition reforms. I extend my greetings to the galaxy of speakers who set the stage for this seminar with their very thought-provoking perspectives in the last two sessions. The last one I was very fortunate to attend. The first on emerging technology and future warfare, and the second on self-reliance on exports and defense manufacturing. Why is transformation important, and why is transformation important to the Indian Navy? To my mind, of course, transformation is not by an end. It's not an end by itself. It is rather a continuous and iterative journey that the Indian Navy undertakes every single day of its existence, and that has a specific purpose. Our transformation began, of course, 7 decades or so back, and it continues to today. We find ourselves in the midst of turmoil and turbulence in the global order today. A discussion on transformation, to my mind, once again, is therefore both very timely and necessary. We had the Naval Commanders Conference last week, and the Honorable Raksha Mantri, Shri Rajnath Singh Ji, he said to us in his inaugural address to the Commanders Conference, just like the oceans have no boundaries, there is no limit to the Navy's roles and responsibilities. The Indian Navy will have to assume full responsibility for the entire Indian Ocean region. In a way, it is not just a reaffirmation of what we exist for in this country, but in a way, it gives us a broad guidance of our top leader on what is expected of today's Navy in the very, very challenging strategic environment in which we live. How does the Navy see itself in this entire world? One, of course, we define ourselves as a combat-ready, credible, cohesive, and future-ready force. And each of these words have been chosen quite carefully by the Chief of the Naval Staff. By being combat-ready, of course, we mean that we need to maintain a high degree of operational readiness at all times, because without a high degree of operational readiness, you don't have the conventional deterrence capability that you want, and you don't even manage to put out a certain balance of power that you want in the Indian Ocean region. So we've got to be combat credible, we've got to be ready. We've got to be credible, which means we've got to be a service that does what it says. We want to walk our talk, and we have to be able to demonstrate outcomes to the countrymen that we proclaim that we will do. We've got to be a cohesive force. We believe in teamwork, and if you're not a big team, then we are nothing. And we want to be a future-ready force Nobody is ever really future ready, but we keep an eye on the future. There's one part of the Navy that's constantly looking at the future, trying to figure out where the world will be, where the country will be, what the Navy does need to do today, so that we grow up in capabilities to do what the Navy needs in the future. So that is how we define ourselves. We would like to think of ourselves as the first responders and the preferred security partners in the Indian Ocean region. And what does this mean? This actually means that, of course, there are plenty of natural calamities. There are a lot of nations that get stricken by a lot of natural disasters. And if anybody needs any help, then we would like to see ourselves as the first responders. So we keep ourselves pre-positioned. We keep tracking events in the Indian Ocean region. And whenever we find that somebody needs any help, we want to be there first, so that we in a way extend the nation's helping hand to them in the time of need. We want to be a preferred security partner because we have a lot of smaller nations who are our neighbors, who have very severe security problems in their vicinity, in the country, outside of the country. We're very cognizant of the fact that security problem in one part of the Indian Ocean region takes no time to transport itself to some other part. And therefore, if those countries have security problems, but they don't have capacities or capabilities, then, and if they're wanting to choose somebody to come and help them, then we want to be the preferred security partner that they choose. So in a way, we want to extend ourselves so that if they need any help, they reach out to us. We are a learning organization. We spend a lot of time and dedicate a lot of effort to reviewing what we do every year. The Commanders Conference I just mentioned is something that we do twice a year, not just us, all the three services do it. And the largest proportion of the time that we spend in the Commanders Conference is to review our own performance in the year, find out what we've done right, what we've done wrong, what should be our corrective measures, what's a new course for us to steer, and those kind of things. So we are a learning organization. We put in a lot of effort into correcting our mistakes and moving ahead as a stronger force. We want to maintain the ability to conduct joint and multi-domain operations across the whole spectrum of conflict. And all of you know this better than I do, that the spectrum of conflict is wide. We live in an era of no peace, no war. There are all kinds of threats, there are all kinds of challenges, and all of these come with all kinds of taxonomies, all kinds of nomenclatures. There are asymmetric threats, there are hybrid threats, there are all kinds of threats. So we need to maintain the military capability to address the whole spectrum of threats at one time. And lastly, we see ourselves as an indigenous force. Atmanirbharta, of course, is the government's clarion call to look inwards and enhance defense manufacturing by several orders of magnitude. But all of you, of course, know that the Indian Navy has been an indigenous force for over about 6 decades. We started off small. For us, indigenization is not just some kind of a mantra, it's some kind of an article of faith. All of you know, of course, that we have over 60 ships on order. We have, in fact, 61 ships on order, 60 of which are going to be built in Indian shipyards. And we are very proud of the number of indigenous ships we have commissioned in the Indian Navy, and by last count it's gone to about 145 or 150. So we are a completely indigenous force, and for practical reasons as well, because we, in our own experience, maintaining an indigenous ship is a lot more cost effective, it's a lot more easy. The supply chain is a lot more convenient for us, and so we like to encourage indigenous industry to build our forces for us. What is the context in which the Indian Navy operates today? And this must have been covered many times in today's seminar itself, but please bear with me when I give you 4 or 5 indicators of how we see the geopolitical and geostrategic context in which the Indian Navy operates today. Conflicts, of course, exist in various parts of the world, and they exist on a continuum with no clear beginning or no clear end. There are plenty of conflicts that have been carried forward from the times of the Second World War. There are plenty of adversarial relationships in all parts of the world. There are animosities, there are historical problems brought forward, and so it's a continuum, and people are struggling to various degrees in various parts of the world. And like I said, the whole concept of no peace, no war has become a new normal in many parts of the world. People are living with tensions, people are living with animosities, many of them that are historical, and all of that is just waiting for a point of explosion. Our neighborhood is very unpredictable, uncertain. It has always been so, but there are many people who say that the Indian Ocean region is so charged like it's never been before. The geopolitical environment across the world, of course, has never been as complex, perhaps from the time before the Second World War. The character of warfare and war is transforming at a very rapid pace. There are two significant trends. There are plenty of trends that define the character of warfare in the 21st century. Allow me to just very quickly speak about two. The first, of course, is the democratization of technologies. In the olden days, high technology used to be the exclusive preserve of government-led organizations. Research and technology, research and development and high technologies took a lot of investment. People did a lot of incubation centers and produced a technology that could be translated to the industry, and then had large-scale manufacturing of very heavy equipment. That, of course, does exist, but it does exist alongside a whole ecosystem of low-cost manufacturing. People are building high technology systems in garages, at homes, in small little centers. People are coming together, having a good idea. Somebody is funding them. And so technology has proliferated and is democratized, and therefore the good guys and the bad guys have the same technologies at the same time. Sometimes the bad guys get access to very good, sharp, cutting-edge technology faster than the good guys, because the good guys have to go through a process, whereas the bad guys just have to buy it wherever they can. This is becoming an isolationist world. Somewhat, we see it becoming a little more protectionist. But in very many ways, it's still a globalized world. So what is available today here, if people are bound by ideology, they're bound by a common cause, by a common reason, that technology goes away to some other part of the world to be used for some other means. And so the technology has got very democratized, and therefore there is abundant access to various kinds of cutting-edge technologies to all kinds of people. And of course, the technology life cycles are very short. Technology itself is galloping at a very rapid pace, and therefore what you have today may be obsolete tomorrow, and there's something new that comes up and sets everything aside that you've done for many years. That is one of those, these are the trends that are shaping the character of warfare. Disruptive and niche technologies, generative AI, big data analytics, quantum computing, machine learning. A lot of people have said a lot about all of this, but all of this are a part of life today, and all of this are feeding into everything that we do in our lives, including the way we fight our wars and we pursue our operations. And that all of these are available to the general public at some cost, in some cost-effective manner, off the shelf, so people can go and buy it, adapt it, put it into a weapon, and launch it. We also see that in the contemporary wars, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Israel-Hamas conflict, with the Houthis thrown in, we have come back to the era of what we call comprehensive wars, where the whole of society is fighting, the whole of nation is fighting. Some societies are fighting for their survival, some nations are fighting for their survival, but these fights are engulfing continents. They're getting funding from people. They're uniting peoples, they're uniting regions in ways that have never been seen before in the last 5 decades. This is the environment in which all of us broadly operate, and this is the environment of which we are every day cognizant that we've got to be responsive to that. Throw into this the big neighbor, China, that we have. China has been equipping itself and its armed forces with a sense of purpose and with a sense of high national priority. The Chinese Navy, of course, has embarked on the most ambitious modernization program and has grown from a 250-odd ship to a 375-odd ship Navy in just about a decade. So, very famously, within closed doors, we tell ourselves that the China has added one full Indian Navy to its force levels in just 1 decade. So that's some phenomenal and astonishing growth. China has increasing engagements in the Indian Ocean littorals for energy, resources, and bases. There are 10 to 12 PLA Navy ships operating in the Indian Ocean region on a daily basis for a variety of purposes. Many of them are legal, legitimate, but a threat is a function of capability and intent. When we don't know what the intent is and we see huge capabilities coming in our neighborhood, we ought to be a little worried. So we take note of all of that, and we are following the Chinese Navy and what the Chinese Navy does on a daily basis. China is a proliferator of very disruptive technologies and a world leader not just in manufacturing, mechanization, shipbuilding, but also in niche cutting-edge technologies like generative AI, quantum computing, and unmanned systems. And all of these can be used with a dual purpose. So all of them are not strictly peaceful, all of them not strictly scientific. Many of the things that China does is dual purpose, and therefore we've got to take note of that as well. Pakistan, our other neighbor, has an equally ambitious modernization plan. It's been adding frontline combatants to the Pakistani Navy's force levels at a very, very rapid pace. With the help of China and Turkey, the Pakistani Navy has transformed itself already to a very, very significant degree, and it has very ambitious plans to transform itself even more by 2030 or so. And of course, we have problems in Bangladesh, we have problems in Myanmar. So broadly, the Indian Ocean region is surcharged with the incursion of China, with the modernization of the Pakistani armed forces. The existing animosity is just getting sharper everywhere. Trouble in the neighborhood, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and so all of this makes for a very unpredictable and extremely challenging regional environment in which the Navy works. Our geography may have been the same, but the geographic context and the geopolitical context in which the Navy operates today is vastly different from what it was a few decades back, and therefore the Navy needs to transform itself. But is transformation a new concept for the Navy? I would say no. The Navy has always tried to transform itself, and we believe we've always been somewhat transformational in the way we think. We've been somewhat innovative in the way we've built ourselves, and we've been innovative in the way we deploy our forces. Please allow me to say a few things that just support this. In the early 2000s, about 2.5 decades back, the Navy set up very purposefully the Directorate of Strategy, Concepts and Transformation at the Naval Headquarters. This directorate was given the free hand to think disruptively at that stage. It works directly under the nose of the Chief of the Naval Staff. The gentleman who heads the directorate, or the lady in times to come who heads the directorate, will report directly to the CNS and report to him or her on what the Navy can do disruptively to transform itself organizationally, operationally, functionally, in any way that it can. They do the military strategic thinking, development of doctrines, identify areas for transformation, and advise the Navy in general and the CNS in particular about how the Navy can transform itself by watching what's happening in the world outside, by seeing what needs to be changed, and of course, transformation. By transformation, we mean we need to bring about a profound change. So there is a boldness of thinking. There has been a kind of the ability to take risk in making organizational changes that has been inbuilt in the Navy, and of course we continue with that legacy. One of the things that the DSCT said in those days, in early 2000s, was the Navy ought to become a network force, and all of you would recollect that network-centric operations was the new paradigm that at that stage people said in the way armed forces would conduct their operations, and I'm very glad to report that one of the early bits of transformation that we wanted to see in the Navy was also to become some kind of a net-centric networked force, and today we are a truly networked force which have an integral satellite connectivity that connects all our forces, whichever part of the world they are in. It's a network of satellite networks, terrestrial communication networks, radar networks, that bring all together and keep us as one extended, tightly knit grid of forces, sensors, radars, weapons, and the rest of it. From time to time, we've also got some external help to come and tell us, see the way we work, and advise us on how we can improve our organizational efficiency, organizational effectiveness. As a matter of example, a couple of years back, we invited Deloitte to come as a consultant to come and see the way we organized, open up our books to them, open out our organization to them. They came and embedded themselves in various parts of organization at Naval Headquarters, at Command Headquarters, and we asked them to very open-mindedly suggest to us if there are ways in which we can make ourselves organizationally more nimble, organizationally more flexible, and organizationally more efficient. Of course, that was a huge report that was given by Deloitte. Some of them we found that we could implement, and some of them we found that they were good, but we could not implement without major disruption to what we do, and therefore we had to do it in phases. But broadly, this is the open-mindedness of the Navy to transformation. Induction of women into combat took many years. Of course, when we had to induct women, it was an idea whose time had come. We've been grappling with this for many years, but that was once again a transformation of how we saw ourselves, how we inducted women, and now we open women to all ranks, all roles, with no discrimination. We call ourselves a gender-neutral force, which means we're not trying to be equal. We're just trying to tell them, here's the job, let the best person win it. The gender doesn't matter. You prove your capabilities, and you will get the job. And that's some kind of a minor modification and transformation we've done as well. When the Defense Indigenization Organization was formed by the MOD, we set up in parallel the Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization. General Khandare just alluded to the TDAC that works under the NIIO. We have this annual meet called the Swavlamban. In a way, it's quite an innovative step, because as far as we're concerned, it's been a super success. It's a unique outreach of the Navy to the MSMEs, startups, and everybody else in the industrial ecosystem who cares to work with us, try to make things better for them, ease of doing business, funding, and the rest of it. Of course, it may have its limitations, like plenty of the panelists say, but from where we can see it, that is still a work in progress. And the good thing about what we do is, there's nothing that's etched in stone. If there's a better idea, we're quite happy to assimilate it, imbibe it, and make things better. But in the way the structure exists today, we've had about 2,800 proposals that we've received from the industry. 191 challenges have been successfully converted to contracts by the DIO for the development of prototypes. Of these, AONs have been accorded to 23 IDEX challenges worth 2,200 crores, and final contracts have been concluded for about 1,200 crores. So a lot of work has happened, maybe perhaps not as much as people may want it to, but certainly it is very substantial and significant, and our own NIIO has been quite a successful story by itself. Safety, you would recollect that some years back the Navy had come to bad press because there was a spate of accidents. Of course, in our own minds, those were not accidents, and nobody would categorize them as accidents. When you're in an operational force, sometimes small things happen. It depends on how you see them, how you report them, and how you talk about them. Somehow we thought we were picked out unfairly at that stage for a lot of negative press. But one of the things that came out of that entire exercise was that while we assumed operational safety because of the operational safety safeguards that we had in all our organizations, perhaps it might do us better to set up a dedicated safety organization. And that was a small organizational innovation that we did. We set up an Indian Naval Safety Team in 2017, and every single accident that we analyze is analyzed through the prism of what we call HFACS, which is Human Factors Analysis and Classification System, where we see what human factors went into causing that accident and what human factors we need to address to make sure those accidents don't recur. So that's some kind of an innovation as well that we did in the way we study our accidents and our operational incidents. The Indian Navy adopted what we call mission-based deployment, a mission-based deployment philosophy. In the yesteryears, we deployed depending on where we needed to deploy. We had to be pre-positioned in places where we saw hotspots cropping up. But now we defined various places in the Indian Ocean region and otherwise where we said we're going to deploy here with a specific purpose, a sense of purpose, and the whole philosophy we call mission-based deployment. That I think has paid us very rich dividends. At any given time, we have picked up 5 or 6 areas in the Indian Ocean region, and we have forces pre-positioned there permanently. It does take a lot of commitment of forces, because to have units permanently pre-positioned in various parts of the ocean meant it's a huge commitment for us. But that has paid us very rich dividends. We have been able to be the first responder whenever we wanted. We've been the preferred security partner. And whenever we find some trouble brewing somewhere, some tension brewing somewhere, we already have somebody pre-positioned, so we're able to respond rather than just react. And I think that has been something that the Navy has been very happy about. We've also integrated a lot of commercial entities into our operations. We've hired commercial ships, we lease commercial ships with the permission of the MOD, and now we find that we've been able to weave commercial ships hired from the Shipping Corporation of India, for example, into our operations. And wherever we've had gaps in our force levels and gaps in our capabilities in various theatres, we've been able to plug them through innovatively using hired vessels as well. We've also imbibed what we call the COCO model under the DAP 20, which it's contractor owned and contractor operated operations, and all of you know that we've very successfully integrated HALE RPAs in the form of the MQ-9Bs into our concept of operations, and that has been very transformative. So these are small examples of how the Navy has been over the decades somewhat open-minded, somewhat innovative in its thinking, somewhat transformational in its approach to how it does things. Where are we today and what are we doing presently? Of course, from our somewhat humble beginnings in the 1940s, we are today a very potent force of about 140 ships and submarines and about 250 aircraft. I think there is a transformation happening there as well in terms of our force levels. We have plans underway to bring this figure to approximately 180 ships and about 350 aircraft by the end of this decade, which is by another 5 or 6 years. All of this hopefully will be in place. We're going to have a balanced force structure, or that's what we think, with aircraft carriers, state-of-the-art destroyers and frigates, nuclear and conventional submarines, fighter planes, maritime patrol aircraft, and a variety of helicopters. This is going to be balanced, and we have been pursuing this for many years, and hopefully many of them will fructify in the next 5 or 6 years. Atmanirbharta for us, as I have said, is not just a statement of intent or a slogan. It is an article of faith, and we are deeply committed to Atmanirbharta. In fact, our former chief of the Naval Staff has gone on record several times saying that we want to be a completely Atmanirbhar force by 2047. When India marches towards Viksit Bharat by 2047, we want to be completely indigenous or self-reliant. I don't know whether we will be completely indigenous, but we certainly will have much better control over our supply chains. We will manufacture, we will give a bulk of the manufacturing on behalf of the Navy to the domestic industry, and hopefully we'll be able to have domestic sources of supporting all our forces at sea and in the front line. The induction of uncrewed systems, and this we are doing in a very big way in surface, subsurface and aerial domains, will only add fillip to our capabilities. Recently we finished the final operational clearance of our indigenously designed and constructed aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, and recently also we got the CCS approval for construction of 2 nuclear powered attack submarines. These of course will add a lot more capability to our force levels, and so this is what we are doing to transform our forces for the requirements of the 21st century. Let me spend 2 or 3 minutes to inform you on what we have been doing the last 2 years in terms of our operations. We have deployed over 35 capital ships from November 2023 and have responded to over 30 maritime incidents, which resulted in the saving of about 520 lives and ensuring the safe transit of cargo worth 117 lakh metric tons on 295 merchant vessels worth about $5.2 billion. These are figures, but the fact of the matter is we have stayed there and we made sure that that part of the world remains safe, and if it were not going to be safe, then we would be there to ensure that the trade flows uninterrupted and unhindered. That the international community of course has seen this and they have taken note of it, and of course they have appreciated it. We've done medical evacuation, firefighting assistance to Iranians, Pakistanis, everybody in that part of the world, in the Gulf of Aden and thereabouts. We participated very actively in anti-piracy operations, and of course many things that we've done. We released the crew of MV Leela Norfolk, release of the crew and apprehension of pirates on the MV Ruin. This is, it, but please allow me to say what happened. MV Ruin was taken over by a bunch of pirates, about 37, 38 of them, about something like 2,500 kilometers away from our mainland, and we had to inject forces in theatre. So we took the help of the Air Force. We took a C-130. We flew all the way there, dropped our commandos at sea. Our commandos dropped at the sea. In the dead of the night, they embarked the ship. This is very Hollywood style. They embarked the ship at the dead of the night. The pirates had taken over the ship. The ship's crew were helpless, and they were in what they call the stronghold. The commandos embarked the ship, so they were dropped somewhere in the vicinity of the ship with their boats, with their weapons, with their equipment. They went to the early hours of the morning, embarked the ship, overpowered the pirates, 37 of them, and freed the ship. All of that happened in just overnight, by the way. All of that happened just overnight. Nobody's done it. The fact of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is, the Gulf of Aden has been a hotbed of piracy for maybe a decade and a half. Multinational forces of all origin, they are there day in and day out. But it is only your Navy that sticks its neck out. We've gone to the help of all and sundry. If somebody says they want help, we've gone. Nobody fires a bullet on behalf of somebody else. We've done that. When our commandos go there, they expose themselves. When those people are entrenched in the ship, they know who's coming. And the commandos can't see who's up there because they don't have the view. They're climbing up a vertical ladder. At the end of the vertical ladder is a guy who's standing with a gun. Nobody does that. There are much better equipped forces. There are much better funded forces. But nobody does that. It's just your Navy that does it. And we're very proud of that. We've done all of that. In a diplomatic role, of course, just last year, in the year 2024-25, we have undertaken 28 bilateral exercises and 29 multilateral exercises with various navies. If I were to have a picture and show it to you here on where the Navy has been deployed in the entire year, that would cover almost the entire world. We've been there, we've shown our flag, we've shown our national intent, and we've represented India in various parts of the world. In pursuit of the vision of Mahasagar that was enunciated by our Honorable Prime Minister very recently in Mauritius, INS Sunaina, even as we speak, has been deployed to the southwest Indian Ocean region. It's been re-nomenclatured for the time being as Indian Ocean Ship Sagar. Sagar, of course, is security and growth for all in the region. So we've called it Indian Ocean Ship Sagar. From the 5th of April, it has embarked, apart from the ship's crew, 44 personnel from 9 different foreign countries. So this is quite an astonishing concept by itself. We took an Indian ship, we embarked a multinational crew on it, and we went to various parts of the Indian Ocean region to do security operations, simply signaling that this is common area, we have common threats, and we need to have a common approach to doing this. And India and the Indian Navy is quite willing to help the smaller nations in doing that. This ship, ladies and gentlemen, at the moment is in Tanzania, and one of the gentlemen said that his team is in Tanzania. That team is there meeting the Indian Navy there in Tanzania. And even as we speak, the Honorable RRM and the CNS are in Tanzania with the ship there. And this is a part of a larger construct that we call the AIAM, which actually in Sanskrit means unity and oneness. But this is an acronym which is AIKEYME, which is Africa, India, Key Maritime Engagement. This is another exercise that we have conceived. It has been co-hosted by India and Tanzania this year. But the concept is to have another strong strand of engagement with East African countries. Do this every year or every other year. Choose a partner among the East African countries. Get all the East African countries together and have India as one partner and the whole East African coast as a second, and do multinational exercises even for a few days. It does a lot more than confidence building. It shows that we have a true intent to standing by them in the time of need. This is happening from the 12th to 17th of April, and that's quite a significant milestone in our outreach to our neighborhood. The Information Fusion Center, Indian Ocean region, all of you are familiar with this. It's in Gurugram. That has been a vital cog in everything that we do, in enhancing international cooperation, of course, but in maintaining maritime domain awareness in this region and beyond. We interface with similar organizations across the world, and we maintain a very, very good hold on what's happening, who's coming, who's going, who's friend, who's not so friendly. We keep track of every single major ship that enters the Indian Ocean region and track it till the time it leaves, and track it back once again when it enters once again. So we do all of that. We have 14 international liaison officers from friendly foreign countries who are embedded in it. This center is going to grow, and we're going to have the National Maritime Domain Awareness Center that's co-located, and perhaps in the next couple of years we'll have something like 40 ILOs from various parts of the world resident there, and our vision is to make it a big hub of maritime domain awareness where Information will be shared, information will be collated together, and that information will come to good operational use in the entire region. This year, the Indian Navy also assumes the chair of the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, or IONS, and all of you, of course, know that the Indian Navy was the founding member of the IONS. It's a grouping of about 36, 37 navies of the Indian Ocean region, and in the way we constructed the charter, the chair goes from region to region, country to country. We were the chair for the first 2 years, and after a full circle is coming back to us once again in a very, very opportune time in our evolution as a nation and as an evolution as a navy. So we hope to utilize the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium once again to strengthen our bonds of friendship and our outreach in the Indian Ocean region, and make sure that we contribute a little more productively to maintaining maritime security here. Since October 24, which is just about 5-6 months back, the Indian Navy has undertaken 3 major anti-narcotics operations that enable the seizure of drugs worth 15,000 crores of rupees, which 3 large hauls we've got. This is, it just shows that we also participate in very synergized efforts in a proactive manner to address things like these smaller non-military threats. We help a lot in combating illegal human migration, illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, especially in our neighborhood, and that's very important. In terms of coastal security, we are the lead maritime agency. We have been entrusted with the overall responsibility for maritime security, which includes coastal security, and therefore the Indian Navy collaborates with over 7 ministries of the Government of India and 15 national agencies, the Coast Guard, the Marine Police, the rest of it, all of them together. We string all of them together in a web of coastal security, and we conduct exercises, we conduct audits, we conduct all kinds of things. In the recently concluded 4th edition of the Pan-India Coastal Security Exercise called Sea Vigil, which we conducted in November 2024, we saw the participation of over 43,500 personnel from various national agencies, about 680 surface crafts, and over 250 hours of aircraft operations. Just planning, organizing, and conducting operations of this kind itself takes a staggering effort, and the Navy has been doing that. The earthquake that struck Myanmar on 28th of March, by the 30th of March, we had about 500 tons of relief material transported by our ships to Myanmar. That again is a clear demonstration of us being the first responder to nations in the time of crisis. And therefore we continue. These are just nuggets which I intend to give all of you a sense of how we've been transformative, we've been innovative, we've been open-minded, and we try to deploy our forces to our best national advantage. What challenges does the Indian Navy face in its transformation journey, and what challenges do we face even now today? Some of them, of course, a lot of things that we want to do is to build a force that's balanced, that is responsive sufficiently to the challenges of the 21st century, and those challenges are quite complex, like all of you know. One of the big challenges, of course, we face, and it was discussed in the previous panel, and Ms. Deepti Chawla is an expert in it. Our acquisition timelines and procedural delays, there are, despite our best efforts, our timelines are large. There are procedural delays, when you compare that, when you superimpose that on the shrinking technology life cycles, then sometimes, when we get our platforms newly commissioned, we perhaps don't have the latest technologies because, our NSQs are frozen many years back. A lot of people say that the DAP, the Defence Acquisition Procedure, needs some reform, but like Ms. Deepti Chawla, she actually very, very beautifully brought it out. There is a purpose in the thing. None of the procedures that are put there, no matter what we say about the procedures, none of those procedures have come there by accident. They have come there after a lot of deliberation. And after every couple of years, the MOD is open enough to say, let's review it once again. We are hearing so much comment on it. Let's review it there. So every single clause, every single article that's there in the DAP is there for a purpose and has been inserted there by people who are knowledgeable on how these things work. So, so we still feel there's a need to reform it. The good part is, of course, the Ministry of Defence has announced this year to be a year of reforms, And yet again, the Ministry of Defence has quite open-mindedly said, let's go back to the DAP and see whether we can make things any better and any faster. But acquisition timelines and procedural delays are something that we continue to grapple with, and we need to do better there. We also find that there's insufficient capacity of our private industry to meet our demands. Ms. Chawla, of course, said that as well. Many times we find that the production that the private industry gives us is sequential. They've got small capacities, and numbers of ammunition, for example, that we want. It takes years and years for them to give us the numbers that we want. And sometimes ammunition comes, and ammunition has a shelf life. We have life cycle management of the ammunition itself becomes a problem. So we don't get the quantities that we want in the timelines that we need. Our design and development cycles are quite prolonged. This results sometimes in obsolescence of equipment prior induction of platforms. I suppose this is the story not just of the Indian Navy or the Indian Army or the Indian Air Force. It is quite the story of any armed force anywhere in the world. But that is something that we need to focus on and try and see how we can make our design and development cycles a little more shorter. From the industry's point of view, and this we've heard it many times, there's non-availability of bulk orders, the lack of incentivization, and therefore a lot of startups are unable to, even if they have good ideas, they have good abilities to support the armed forces, they are unable to sometimes participate in our things. So I think that's another small gap we need to bridge. Hopefully the panel that's going to follow here on procurement and acquisition, they will address some of these and give us some ideas on how we can negotiate them better. I'd just like to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, this was broad brush, a broad brush to let you know what the Navy does and what the Navy's attitude towards transformation is, and how the Navy has in some small way been transforming itself every single day, maybe every single year. And cumulatively in the last 10-15 years, we made quite staggering progress from what we were before. We are open-minded in our approach, we are innovative and transformative in our thinking, and we'd like to think that we are cognizant that our approach, our attitude, and our aptitude and our thinking are force multipliers, and we need to kind of move with the times and make the Navy the best that it can be. With these few words, I once again thank Mr. Rajan Arya for inviting me at this event. It's been a great honor and pleasure. If there are any questions, I'll be very glad to take them on. Otherwise, thank you very much. I wish you the very best of luck. God bless you. I'm open to questions. If somebody has any questions, I was told that. Yes, ma'am.
Not the best time to ask because there's a session going on. But I'd like to understand, and maybe in my question lies the answer also, but between the IOR and the EEZ, where do you think the Navy's priority should lie?
It's difficult to answer that because we don't know whether we need security inside a compound or security in a neighborhood. We need security everywhere, and so the Navy's charter, of course, is from the coastline till wherever the sea exists. We've got to defend the nation from the territorial integrity and rest of it. We've got to work with other national agencies as well. We have the Coast Guard, we have the Marine Police, we have a lot of other agencies that work. But there's only one agency that looks after military threats, that looks after hard security tasks. There's only one agency in this country that is equipped, that is funded, that is raised by the nation, and that is the Navy. So the Navy cannot afford to choose between one part of the ocean and the other. We are quite cognizant that a threat that manifests in one part of the ocean can be in the other part of the ocean tomorrow morning. So we sweep from the coast outwards everywhere, and from the tip of the Indian Ocean region backwards here. So we just see this as one big, uninterrupted, indivisible space in which we have to operate. So it's very difficult for us to make the priority, and we don't.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your articulation has brought powerful clarity to the India's maritime imperatives and the naval transformations that we are seeing today. May I now request Mr. Rajan Arya to kindly present a token of appreciation to Vice Admiral Swaminathan.